Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, some heavyweight news or no news again. You know, we're talking about Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury, the undisputed fight that was supposed to be announced this weekend, you know, after the Canelo fight. You know, that was supposed to be the announcement that people are talking about. Remember telling me, you know, in my comment section, hey, you know, only announcement going to be made is that announcement, finally. Well, then that's not happening. Still didn't happen. No announcement. The only new news is that Tyson Fury is not going to sign the contract. There's some stipulations and he's not going to sign it. This is according to his English promoter, Frank Warren, right? So he's not signing the contract. That actually has been already signed, correct? Wasn't we talking about how a few months ago? The contract is already signed. So there's still some stipulations, still some stuff going on back and forth, which we shouldn't be hearing at this point, right? But like we said before, and we're right, just shut up about it and announce it when it's time to be announced. Not for here all the time. Boom. Every time it's going a little bit ahead of time, and then just to say something every couple of days, and this big announcement, and then there's people coming in all happy that it might be a big announcement. Listen, let's make sure this is clear. All this stuff that's going on with the Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight, and the reason why it's taking a while is because it started with Tyson Fury not wanting to fight Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury breaching his contract with Deontay Wilder, alleged glove tampering and all of that. And Anthony Joshua is not oblivious to none of this. He knows about it too, actually. But they're so hard pressed on getting that fight anyway. Which, if you would have used your energy to everybody saying, Tyson Fury, you have to fight this guy, period, we'll wait, or we'll do our thing, then that would have happened. But everybody's basically trying to get this fight and not deal with the Deontay Wilder issue. Who posted some more vids of him training, but whatever, you know. I've seen him train before when he was training left hand. I thought that was more awesome. But right now, at least we're seeing some things. Bottom line is, it's a whole bunch of things going on, and they just don't want to mention it. One of which, well, I ain't going to say one. We've talked about this before. You know, in England, there's a big uproar about Daniel Kinahan, the alleged mob boss, who has something to do with MTK Global. He's basically supposed to be the boss, and you know, it's got some mob things popping off, and that's where some issues were. So a lot of people wanted to boycott the fight if he has anything to do with it. And I'm talking about Sky and all Sky and what is that? All those over there, BBC and them. They wanted to be boycotted because of that. They want to make sure before we show this fight, he better not have nothing to do with it, right? So you got the Daily Star also. You know, like, hey, we don't want to have nothing to do with it. Now, it's been journalists of late whose Twitter accounts have been blocked of late for just mentioning this guy and mentioning that he's his affiliation to him and everything like that. So these are the things that are going on. Now, at some point, you're like, well, if all this is going on, let's just make the damn other fight and get back to this, right? But let me just read you some stuff so you can kind of know how this is going on. Now, former world boxing champion Barry McGuinness has described as unbelievable move by Twitter to block a Belfast Telegraph journalist and our sister company Sunday Life over posts that included references to Dublin crime boss Daniel Kinahan. The social media giant apologized after blocking the accounts, but did not provide any further details as to why it acted. They were suspended after mentioning Dubliner Kinahan, named in the High Court in Dublin as playing a central role in criminal activities, but also closely linked to the boxing promotion company MTK. That's MTK Global, y'all. Mr. McGuinness, who featured prominently in the BBC Panorama special on Kinahan and his involvement in boxing, said in the action on the accounts was unbelievable and asked Twitter, what is going on? Now, he was responding to a social media site to a post by BBC journalist Stephen Dempster, who co-produced the documentary. I'm disturbed at why and how Twitter is banning accounts for factually reporting issues relating to Kinahan and banned colleagues, said Mr. Dempster. Now, think about that. Factual, right? Banning accounts for factual reporting. But anyway, back to the quotes. Belfast Telegraph political editor Susan Breen said she was banned from the site for a tweet that referenced the BBC program and threats made to journalists involved following its broadcast. The move to block appeared to be part of a pattern which Twitter cited privacy after complaints from unknown users. Now, one more. Irish Daily Star chief reporter Paul Healy revealed his account was suspended over a completely factual tweet about a certain boxer and Daniel Kinningham. Appealed it, and Twitter upheld the complaint. Unfortunately, had to delete it. Now, Mr. Healy added, mine allegedly breached private media laws was a publicly available picture of well-known boxer and Kinnahan, along with quotes from that boxer of his friendship with him. Bizarre. Now that unknown boxer, they're not saying Tyson Fury's name. That's going to be Tyson Fury there, or maybe to a lesser extent Billy Joe Saunders, but that's probably Tyson Fury. They're not even saying the name. These are things that are going on as well. Right? So you're thinking about when Tyson Fury says, hey man, I'm paying a whole lot of lawyers to handle this Deontay Wilder situation and all this other stuff that's going on. This is what he's probably talking about. Somebody had to get those accounts blocked, and these guys are giving out factual information about the dealings with this guy, we don't forget the names, and Tyson Fury and what MTK Global and all of that. So these are going on. These are about 3 to 4 different papers. Newspapers, three or four different. We got Belfast Telegraph, the Daily Star, BBC, Sky. That's a whole lot of people that are upset. You're talking about the people who are going to show the fight and the people who are going to write about the fight. That's a whole lot of people upset, right? So why are we going to keep doing that? So and then you combine that to remember when the pictures of the gloves in the Deontay Wilder fight from Tyson Fury, the 1 and 2 and the gloves, we seen them at 90 degrees and all kind of stuff, all those things that we saw with the gloves. Well, after a while, that site was also, you couldn't get any access to it to get the pictures anymore. So somebody paid them too. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of paying going on. And when you just think about when this started, it's just simply, hey, fight Deontay Wilder. And I'm going to put another video up there in the information box. Y'all check it out. When I was telling you Deontay Wilder, it's a lot of money. You're talking about paying all these lawyers. You want to pay them step aside money, and you're gonna get a minimum of $60 million for fighting him. Right? Then Joshua knows about this stuff and he ain't gonna fight him. That's a lot of stuff to not fight somebody, anybody. Because at the end of the day, hey man, Deontay Wilder's not all that. He's a skinny leg dude that barely know how to box. You gotta take him out. You gotta want to take him out. So this is very interesting. When you're looking at Deontay Wilder, and the reason why I would call Deontay Wilder, he's a member of the Negro League Fighters, is what I mean by Negro League Fighters is what lets people, when I mean people, the other boxers, his opponents, the media, and some of the, I don't know, people in comment sections and some of the so-called boxing fans, which that's not fans, the length to what these people will go to not have a fight or not want to see a fight, right? And it's most of the time a brother on the other end of that. Like Deontay Wilder, it's just, everybody could just say, hey, Tyson Fury, you got to fight him, period. They not. So we're going to go through all this trying to have another fight that's, got so many hurdles that's in the way of the fight, but we still just trying to force this fight in, like Undisputed is all of a sudden something, and we weren't doing that back when AJ and Deontay Wilder could have had that fight, but we're forcing this for some reason because we don't want Tyson Fury to fight him a third time, right? That happens just like Demetrius Andrade. We know this guy's been winning Canelo's weight division forever, but we're hell-bent on him not fighting Canelo, so we're doing everything. Everybody, the zone, people come in your comment sections. People just don't want to see him fight another champion because they know this guy could be a problem. Louis the Real King Kong Ortiz. You talk about him and Dillian White. People don't want to see that. Dillian White could call out anybody, just not this guy, right? Lomachenko don't have to fight Devin Haney. Teofimo Lopez beats Lomachenko. Don't have to fight Devin Haney. Ryan Garcia is mandatory. Don't have to fight Devin Haney, right? Ain't nobody gonna fight Gerard Ennis. He's not a member yet, but he's gonna be one soon. Guillermo Rigondeaux. We keep everybody away from this dude, right? Those are Negro League fighters because there's a conscious effort from everybody involved in boxing to keep these guys out of the way. And at the other end of it, they say, hey, who have they fought and this and that, but they don't want their guys to fight them. And that's just going on the line. Look at, excuse me for not mentioning Jamal Charlo. We have a belt, a franchise belt, because Jamal Charlo is dangerous. And if he wasn't dangerous, we would have never had that belt because Canelo would have just fought him. If that was Yildirim that was his mandatory, we wouldn't have a franchise belt. If that was Samaretta, we wouldn't have a franchise belt. If that was Murata, Billy Joe Saunders, Rory Fielding, Amir Khan, Kirkland or Steve Rose. I can keep going from some of the opponents from Canelo or Gennady Golovkin, any of them opponents, right? If there wasn't any of those, we wouldn't have a so-called franchise belt, which I say Charlo belt. So this is why this keeps happening. So whatever's going on with AJ and Fury, it ain't the fight. It's always something else. And the reason is the Deontay Wilder thing. That's what's also the reason. And don't you guys think it's weird to pay all this money to everybody and tweets? You can't say nothing about this or that, anything factual about the fight. It's some weird stuff going on, you guys. It's some really weird stuff. Keep your eye on it. We'll see what's happening. Dome Sports Talk Worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all.